Hey, it's V Lee and you are watching the Real Estate Baller Show. If you enjoyed our video or found value in our channel, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It helps us more than you know and allow us to help more people to achieve financial freedom. Thanks and enjoy this episode. I'm sorry for this interruption. I've been asked a lot about passive investment, and I understand that there is nothing passive about being a landlord unless you can find a great property management company. So if you own an Airbnb, a vacation rental, or a short-term rental, and you are looking to free up your time, contact our team at Buzz Vacation Rentals at 281-549-8432 or check out our website at www.buzzvacationrentals.com. Thank you, and back to the Real Estate Baller Show. This episode is brought to you by Jet Lending. For over 20 years, Jet Lending has been helping real estate investors succeed. They offer 100% financing so you can be in at $0 at closing. I can always count on Jet Lending to fund my deals. If you're looking to fund your next deal, contact our friend over at jetlending.com. This episode is brought to you by National Real Estate Insurance Group, a national independent insurance agency specifically for real estate investors. I personally use NREIG for my investment properties. They offer a low monthly payment option to help you to lower your cash out of pocket when buying an investment property. If you're looking for insurance coverage for your flips or your rental, reach out to them. You can click on the link in the show descriptions, or you can reach out to Jules at 816-946-8443. Hello, Mr. Youngster. You haven't changed a bit since I saw you, 2 weeks ago? Where was that?
That's right. We were at the Quest Expo in Dallas.
Yeah, we were. It was a good event, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was awesome. I met so many people and did a lot of networking. I love Quest events.
I love that you just go around and network with all these successful, big names people. You know, unfortunately, I didn't make the cut.
I forgot to get a selfie with V Lee, and that's my mistake. There's a few other people I missed as well, but I'm not afraid to go up to people and talk to them at conferences, and everyone else shouldn't be either. That's the way connections are made.
Yeah, that's right. Don't get intimidated because we all started out at a low, zero at some point. But
that's right.
What I want to say, because we have audience who listen on podcasts and we have people who watch on YouTube. Michael has a really friendly voice and has a very young face, but he's very powerful. So, Michael, you might tell us how old you are?
I am 35.
You already
I guess that's young?
Yeah.
Is that young?
Well, younger than me. I mean,
I feel like social media gives us this image that by 21 we're supposed to have a Ferrari, so I just feel like at 35 I'm behind.
Oh, I love that. 35 and behind. Well, don't even remind me. You speak of Ferrari, I gotta tell you a story. We off track here a little bit. I love cars, right? I love nice car that ride nice, smooth. So I love the Range Rover. And I said if I hit this goal of sales, which is $200K for the month profit, I'll go buy me a Range Rover. And so I went to the Range Rover dealership. They took a look at me and they thought I couldn't afford it. So anyway, I test drove the car and all that stuff, but I decided that I didn't need to give my money away to somebody who didn't think I deserved to have that car. So I never bought a Range Rover. I mean, I bought many other cars. I still want to buy a Range Rover one day, but I think I'll have to find better salesmen.
Same thing has happened to me. I think a lot of us real estate investors, we don't look nice or dress fancy. Like, I wear Costco clothing, and for the longest time me and my wife had 10-year-old paid off cars because we were trying to protect our debt to income ratio to get more properties. And I've had that happen to me, and It's also happened to my father as well. Car dealers didn't think that he could afford the vehicle he's looking at. And I think that's because they're programmed to like a W-2 mindset, like a corporate job mindset, where if you make 100 grand a year, you put $100,000 a year on your body and you walk around with it, trying to pretend to be rich.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that, and when I worked in corporate Americas, if you made 120 a year, you spent 130, and people were not getting anywhere in life. And I think that's what those dealers are trained to look for. So when they see entrepreneurs and real estate investors, it doesn't fit the frame, the mold for them.
I hear you. Anyhow, so here you are, 35 and retired. What's the
That's right.
secret?
The secret, at least for us, there's lots of ways to do it. I remember, I think Brandon Turner said, everything works, right? You just have to stick to it. You got to pick one thing and build your bridge. For me, that was single family. So I started with house hacking. And so we were going to buy either a duplex, triplex, or fourplex, because most people don't know that you can do that with conventional financing. So FHA, VA, or just a normal conventional loan. You can do up to 4 units is considered residential. At 5 units and up, it becomes commercial, and that's a whole different product for financing. So we set out to buy a duplex or a 3 or 4 unit, and at the time we didn't understand as much as we do now for real estate, and we were having a hard time finding a property. So we started looking at larger homes. So we're going to do a different version of house hacking where we rent out by the room. We found a 5-bedroom house in a part of town, and it was kind of funny that we were looking at it like, as we're looking at homes, we're doing the math, like if our mortgage is X, we're going to rent out the rooms for Y. We were doing the math as like, if we could just pay half the mortgage by renting out bedrooms, or by doing a duplex, triplex, or fourplex, for us that would have been worth it, right? Because you have a cash flowing asset that is appreciating, and the mortgage is going down over time, the rents is going up over time, and the value of the property is going up over time. And it's kind of funny that with the magic that is real estate, we actually ended up paying all of the mortgage within like a year of renting out a couple rooms. Things just came in higher than we expected it to be. And so I don't know where people would define financial freedom, but I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, we started living for free just by renting out by the room. But I don't think that's the story that most people want to hear. If you have young children, or if you have a wife, like I'm lucky to have the wife that I have, love her to death. She is Asian and is used to living with other people and large families and stuff like that. So she's like, I don't care if we have roommates. And we targeted people that kind of fit the lifestyle, what we're looking for. So there are fair housing laws whenever you're renting out single family properties. But if you live there, fair housing doesn't apply. And so what that means is you're allowed to discriminate in your household. So you are allowed to select the people that live the lifestyle that you live, like busy working professionals or whatever you want, or at least that's what I was told by a broker, a real estate broker. And so if you're living like that, you can be selective. And so we rented out to college students and traveling professionals and people who had just graduated college, kind of like us. And at that time, I was 100% travel in the corporate world. Every single week, I flew to a different city. And so I was only on Houston on weekends and holidays. And my wife was in a master's program at the same time that she was working as a part-time nurse. And so we were really busy. We were rarely at the house, and we had roommates that were kind of the same. And so we learned that in marketing, you get what you ask for, right, when you do marketing. And so
Right.
we are asking in our marketing materials, so we furnish the bedrooms. We put a desk and a chair and a surge protector, and we furnished the bedrooms, and we attracted a certain kind of person to live there who just needed a place to shower, sleep, and do some work, and then get out of the house again. So house hacking was way easier than we thought it was going to be, way easier. And we kind of looked at it like training wheels to do bigger things like single family and multifamily, you know.
So I'm going to jump in real quick. I have a couple of questions. Okay. House hacking. So basically, you keep the master bedroom, and then you rent out the
Primary.
rest of the primary bedroom, and you rent out the rest of the room in the house, and you charge people by what? Weekly or monthly?
We did monthly.
You
Yeah,
did
we did
monthly.
monthly with a minimum of a 6-month lease.
Okay, so 6 months. So, and that was enough to like you. Is it all inclusive of utility and all everything other costs?
Yeah. So we found it easier to just include everything. We didn't back charge for anything. I know there's some people that work out some sort of system of splitting the bills, but we didn't have cable. We just got the fastest internet package we could and just figured out what it was worth to us. Which I believe we started at $600 a month for the rooms,
Okay.
and then it went to $650 and then $700 because just like single family and multifamily, that's how rents work.
Yeah. Um, okay, so in these room, do you have TV? Do you or is just basic?
Yeah, we found that people didn't really want TVs. They wanted fast internet. Everybody watches stuff on their laptop, phone, or tablet. And so we just got the fastest internet package. We put Wi-Fi repeaters through the house. House was kind of big.
Yeah.
And yeah, nobody wanted a TV. We had a TV in the living room, and I don't think anybody ever turned it on in the 3.5 years that we house hacked.
How do you find people? Where do you market? It's on newspaper, Facebook, like social media? Where do you market for these renters?
We did Facebook Marketplace. We did, it's been a couple years now, so I forget, but there was websites specific to renting by the room. I forget the name of it. It's been so many years, but Craigslist, believe it or not, was really good. Craigslist was great. Just a lot of scammers and people overseas offering to send you wires and stuff like that. So once you learn to weed through that, also we found out you can cut out a lot of the not so serious people by just getting on a FaceTime call as soon as possible when you're talking to somebody. So that was really helpful in marketing for people that would rent by the room.
Wow, that's amazing. Have you ever got into a situation with one of them?
Believe it or not, no. I think that, well, first of all, before I did this, I read books. That's what we should all be doing, audiobooks.
Well, I wish everybody read books and know what to do. We are not as smart as you now. Remember that.
And so I learned from reading books and watching YouTube videos and Bigger Pockets and everything else that a lot of the problems that you could have are cut out during tenant screening. Knowing exactly what you're looking for and how personality types work together. We never had any, we did it for 3.5 years. We never had any issues.
Do you still live in that house today?
No, actually, I don't. I can tell the bigger story about it, but
Yeah.
very simply, we now
Okay.
live in a different house, the house that I'm in right now, and then we turned that house into a long-term rental, and then now we are selling that house. It's now vacant after being a rental for a couple years, and we are looking forward to pulling a lot of equity out of that house.
That's amazing. How long have you owned it?
5.5, maybe 6 years.
Okay.
And it's
And
got like 130,000 in equity in it in just 5 years or so.
so how much appreciation did you get in the last 4 or 5 years?
About 120, 130 once you consider debt pay down and appreciation. And it's also worth noting that I bought that house and I got paid $800 at closing to buy that house. So I guess it's an infinite return because I got paid at the closing table to buy it. And I think 800 is my lucky number because there's actually another real estate deal where I got paid 800 at closing to buy it as well. So it's been a great investment that you get paid to buy it, you live in
Yeah.
it for free, and then now I'm pulling over 6 figures of equity out of it whenever I sell it.
Okay, so let's define a few things here. You mentioned financial freedom earlier, and I still want to go back to that house because that's where you started, right? So you mentioned financial freedom. What does financial freedom mean to you?
The best definition I could find is I like the definition of financial runway, right? And so I started doing this calculation where if I stopped working, how many months of lifestyle of whatever my cost of living is per month do I have before I run out of money? And everyone has a different definition of that. But for us, with just a few houses, we realized we had infinite runway there because our cost of living was so low and we lived well below our means. For other people, they might need a large amount of financial freedom. But I heard somebody say and I'm going to repeat it here, that there's 3 levels of financial freedom. 1, you can get on a jet anytime you want, like buy airplane tickets to go somewhere for the weekend. 2, you can buy a jet. And then 3, you can buy the New York Jets. And so there's 3 levels of financial freedom, and I guess I'm at level 1, financial freedom.
I love it. I love it. When you bought this house, you were still working in your corporate job.
That's right.
What were you doing?
I was a risk and safety manager for a telecom company. And so I started in safety and cross-trained into risk management. So building cell phone towers, stuff like that. Real boring stuff.
So you got into real estate. It's just like so exciting. Like it's such a complete different world.
That's right. That's right. And it really hit me when, and we can talk about it more, but I did a single family deal, and the equity capture that I got on a single family deal was like almost my salary for the whole year, like the equity that I made on a single family deal. And so it kind of started doing calculations of time in my mind, and I'm like, what am I doing here? With this job, I got to work a minimum of 40 hours a week and be gone from home for in a year's time to make what one single family made me that didn't take that long to do.
I think that's really important to point out. I think people don't realize that it's so easy. Like, I mean, if you just want to treat this like a high-paying job, you work maybe 6 months out of the year, right? You do one house, flip whatever, and you make as much as of someone's annual salary. So you take the next 6 months off, and then you go and you buy another house and you do it all over. And you can repeat that over and over, and that's pretty easy, don't you think?
Yeah, it was much easier than, I found real estate to be way easier than my corporate job, than my W-2 job, much easier.
Okay, so I'm gonna pick your brain a little bit on this house here. You're thinking of selling it. Obviously, I'm assuming you thinking of going in a different direction. As someone as smart as you probably already thought about the refi, take the cash out, tax-free, and keep renting that house and use the cash to do something else with it. So what caused you, or what's your thought on selling versus refi, cash out?
Well, when we start, I think every investor does what they call an ROI calculation, which means they do calculate the return on investment, how much money comes out of your pocket versus how much money goes in your pocket. And eventually what we do is, every investor I've met, we tell ourselves we're going to pay the mortgage off, we're going to hold it forever, it's going to be worth all this money. And what you start doing eventually is you start doing an ROE calculation, a return on equity. And so you start calculating how much equity is in the home, what you can do with that if you redeploy that capital. And so when I started looking at my portfolio, it just started to make more sense to sell these houses and redeploy the capital into more single family and into small multifamily. That's what I'm targeting.
Why multifamily?
One of the first people that taught me about real estate, my private lender, his name is Scott, and I borrowed a lot of money from Scott over the years, and I was getting really good deals, and he was happy to fund them. And he said that this is fun, like turning one house into 3, and then you can turn 3 houses into 9, and then you can turn 9 houses into 18. But he said eventually you want to take all your problems and all of your income and all of your assets and put it under one roof. And he said that's called multifamily. So instead of having 18 or 20 single-family houses, the economies of scale to having a 20 unit are much better. The cost of turnover is much lower. The business can be simplified. You don't have handymen running all the way across Houston. For those of you who don't know, who don't live in Houston, Houston is an hour away from Houston.
Yep.
It's normal for us to drive an hour each way when we go do something here. And so we want to take all of our assets and all of our cash flow and put it under one roof, and it becomes easier to manage.
So what type of investment have you been involved in so far? So we know single family. Have you also been involved in multifamily already, or you getting into?
I've been an LP in a multifamily deal. So I've done one multifamily deal, and it was years ago. And so that's where I was a passive investor, put a little money in, get a check every quarter. It was great. especially if you didn't know anything about real estate, which at that time I didn't. But a majority of my investments have just been single family, just direct to seller marketing, house hacking, and single family.
Let's define what LP is for the audience real quick if they don't know what it is.
Yeah, of course. LP is a limited partner. So when you do a syndication, whenever you buy multifamily in a syndication, we pool money together, and one person or one group of people is called the general partner. They're the people who find and operate the property. And the limited partners are people who just put in cash, they do no work, they hold less liability, and they just get a check every quarter, every month, every year, depending on how it's structured. And so I was a LP, limited partner, because I had a very busy W-2, and I didn't have the skills necessary to go out and do my own deals at the time.
So this deal, you're already out of it at this point? Or are you still in? Okay.
It ended years ago. That's right.
So did it pay out well?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it more than doubled my money with no effort on my part.
So that's the outcome that we would hope for if we were to invest into one of these transactions. But in the last year, or maybe even back a little bit into early 23, I don't think many investors were that lucky.
No, many syndications have been struggling in the last few years because of the increase of taxes and insurance costs, and a lot of syndicators and multifamily investors took floating rate debt, and interest rates went up faster and harder than anyone ever anticipated. And so for single family investors who have fixed rate debt, it's not been very painful for us. But for multifamily investors and commercial investors who took floating debt, it has been a difficult time for many of them.
Yeah. So what due diligence did you do? Given I know you did your due diligence. So what did you do to keep yourself out of trouble?
On the multifamily deal, I watched a video on how to underwrite, and I underwrote the deal. And I found a trusted syndicator, someone that a friend of mine knew, and the market made sense, the numbers made sense. It was in Killeen, Texas, and the price that they said the rents could go to made sense. And so something I can share with everybody to do is, I'm just going to use random numbers just to make it easy. If rents are $1,000 and they say rents can be pushed to $1,500, you got to remember that most places require 3 times the monthly rent and income in order to qualify. So if they want to rent it for $1,000 a month, people have to make $3,000 a month. And so you have to look at a market or a city and decide how many people in this city make $3,000 a month or more. And if they say they're going to push the rents to $10,000 a month, well, how many people make $30,000 a month in that market? And are they going to want to come to this apartment? And so with just a little bit of demographic study online, you can figure out if the syndicators or if the GPs are in the realm of reality or not.
I love how you look at it from that perspective. I thought you were going to say something like it went up to $1,500. That's a huge increase, and it doesn't seem realistic. But you look at it from the demographic income standpoint, and I love that.
Yeah, 1,500 from 1,000 to 1,500 is a big jump. I wouldn't. I'd be skeptical if they told me that.
By the way, you're way smarter than you look. I'm just teasing.
I've heard that before, so it must be
checking
true.
to see if you pay attention. Okay, so earlier, before we hit the record button, you shared something with me, and I thought that was really impactful. And I asked you the questions was, what's the key to your early retirement? And you said something, and I thought it was really impactful. And I'd like for you to share that with the audience.
Yeah, so what I found the key to my early retirement was controlling my DTI, or debt to income ratio. It's something that we were not taught about as kids in school. And for us, it was the key to unlocking financial freedom. Because if your debt to income ratio gets too high, you're not going to get approved for more loans, which means you can't buy more cash flowing real estate. I think before we can understand what a good investment is, or even before we buy a home, the world bombards us with offers for credit cards, student loans. When you go to shop for a car, the car salesman doesn't ask what you want or what you need. They're interested in figuring out what you can afford. And so I've found that the world is like competing for your DTI, your debt to income ratio. You go talk to a mortgage broker, they're trying to figure out the maximum you can afford. You go talk to a real estate agent, they want to know what the maximum you can afford is. You go talk to a car salesman, they're trying to figure that out. When you apply for a credit card, they're trying to figure it out. And everyone's racing to the top of your DTI. And it is true that salaries do go up over time statistically, but I think it's a trap that young people fall into, that before they understand what the purpose of life is and what makes them happy and what their goals are, their DTI is already maxed out. They've got credit cards, student loans, they've got a really nice fancy car. Meanwhile, they have no assets, right? They have absolutely no assets. And then by the time they read some books and figure it out, it could be too late, or it could take massive change for them to turn their life around. So I think I should make a YouTube video or something warning young people about this, about the DTI, how to measure it and how to track it.
You should. I think that's very impactful. I was very fortunate that I remember in high school, we had a career day. And I think it was somebody from a financial institutions. And they were teaching a simple thing as balancing your checkbook.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, I guess you can't spend more than what you have and write in a check because it hasn't cleared the bank. Technically you already spend the money, right?
Right.
So I took that concept with me, for all my life. And I think that was so helpful for me anyway, to not spending more than what I'm making. So if I want to spend more money, I just have to increase my earning power.
That's right.
And which sound like you did by getting into real estate, by figuring out how you can do more deals.
That's right. And a lot of people don't think of this or aren't told this, but once you earn income for 2 years on your tax return from rental income, it now counts as your total income. So you could take the income from your W-2 job, your corporate job, and add the income that you've shown on your tax return for the last 2 years on your properties and potentially qualify for more loans. Your income goes up. So at one point I was looking at our tax returns and it's like I earn $1, my wife earns $1, and then our business earned $1. I was like, wow, it's almost like there's 3 people on this tax return here. And so that would be also a warning to everybody is watch your write-offs and watch your expenses, because a lot of real estate influencers and YouTube videos like to advertise how much we can write off and pay very little tax. And that is true. You are allowed to have expenses in your business, but I always watched my write-offs and made sure that I was showing income on my tax return and that I wasn't negatively impacted when I went to apply for more loans.
Yeah, not that we CPA or anything, and I think that you don't want to write off to a point where you become not bankable.
That's right. That's right. So watch your business expenses.
Yes, because your CPA, good CPA always suggests to do a lot of write-off, and you go talk to your banker, and they go, well, what's your income?
That's
how
right.
much money you make. You can't buy this house because you don't have enough income.
That's right. And so, I like to liken it to the difference between the scarcity mindset and the abundance mindset. The scarcity mindset says, here's my dollar. I worked hard for this dollar, and I want to keep as much of it as I can. The abundance mindset says, here's my dollar. I worked hard for this dollar. I want to do whatever I've got to do to turn this into $2 or $3. And if that means paying a little bit of tax on it so I can go out and make more, then that's what I'm going to do, because everybody's caught up on their tax bill. I'm not. There's nothing wrong in making a profit. And I've talked to small business owners and some entrepreneurs who are not in real estate, and they have a lot of expenses and write-offs, and then they find out that they're not financeable because they were trying to keep every dollar that they made. And I've heard people say this on YouTube before, but you likely, if you make enough income, you're not worried about your taxes. That's what I've learned.
Yeah, I do think in that aspect, you pay one way or another. You either pay taxes or you pay for the cost of money. So you're going to pay. It's just however you want to pay it. What makes the most sense for you.
That's right.
Right. So tell us, what do you do for fun?
I'm trying to figure that out now that I'm retired. To celebrate my real estate retirement last year, me and my wife spent a couple months in Asia. We went hopping from country to country to country. And at the 2-month mark, I realized that I had used 8 years of what would have been for most people or 4 to 8 years worth of vacation time, depending on what your company policy is, in one trip. I did the math. I was on a plane flying over the Pacific Ocean, and I was doing the math. I was like, here are all the places I want to see in this world. And if I have a W-2 job, I can maybe see one a year. And so I think I might pass away of old age before I could go see the world that I wanted to see. And that really upset me, and it motivated me to become financially free. There's a world out there for all of us that you can't even imagine outside of your neighborhood and your job and your route to work every day. And I encourage everybody who finds himself lacking motivation, go take a trip overseas, even if it's just for a few days or a week, and see what life is really like. And you'll find yourself with a new perspective when you come back to the U.S. And then every time I come back from a vacation, it's like there's nothing that can stop me.
Yeah, and my goal was in Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam, right? And
That's
I
right.
messaged you and asked for recommendation, and he thought I was the craziest person in the world. It's like, aren't you Asian? Why are you asking a white guy for recommendation in your country?
That's right. That's right. And my wife and I were on a boat paddling through a river that goes through a cave system in northern Vietnam. And V was messaging me for recommendations on social media.
Hey, but you never know. I mean, I've never went to North Vietnam until my last trip to Vietnam. So,
Did you like it?
yeah, I did. It surprised me, actually. It was a lot better than I expected.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love the weather and the food.
Yeah, yeah. So I had the best banh mi in Hanoi, you know?
I like the fish. They have a fish dish. I don't know how to say it in Vietnamese, so I won't butcher it. But they have a fish dish up there that everyone loves, and it was amazing. It's made with dill and something else. It was
Oh,
awesome.
yeah. It's very popular up there in the northern region. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's next for you?
Selling all our properties. We're selling all of our properties and redeploying the capital. I'm looking at single family deals. I have to go look at one later this afternoon, and we're looking at small multifamily as well. I have people who've reached out to me and have offered me capital to invest in my deals for us to partner, and so I'm looking for deals that make sense for me and my partners. I wanted to go back to direct to seller marketing. I don't know how much time we have. Are we running out of time?
No, we're good.
Okay, cool. And so on the direct to seller marketing side, when I started buying more houses, I was living in a house hack, living for free. And that gave me and my wife the capital. If you look at your budget, most Americans' budget, they put it all towards their housing, their cars first, then their food, utilities, medical care, then their vacation. We took that stack for our budget and we turned it upside down. And so we asked ourselves, what do we want to do? What do we want to invest in first? And then we found a way to make the rest of our life fit in underneath that. So we didn't have any car payments. We paid our cars off, and then going forward, we'll only buy cars cash. And that enabled, the only reason we could do that is because we were living for free. And so when people get started, they're kind of discouraged because they don't have a lot of money to get started. But it's right there in your monthly budget. Document and track what you're spending your money on. And then imagine if your cost of housing was eliminated. Then imagine if your car payment was eliminated. How much money per month do you have? And so we were house hacking. Me and my wife, we were working. We were busy. We had nothing to spend our money on. We just plowed it all into savings and the S&P 500 and savings accounts. And we started buying houses. We said we wouldn't move into a house on our own and live without roommates until the house was paid for, the cash flow, the real estate. So once you live for free, it's hard to undo that. It's very hard to undo that. And so we were buying houses. And actually, this house that I'm in right now, I bought using direct-to-seller marketing, using direct mail, and my private lender funded it. And we were originally going to do it as a rental. And then while we were rehabbing the property, I did the math. I told my wife, are you ready to move? Are you ready to not have roommates? Because if we move in this house and then we turn the other house into a long-term rental, we're now living in this house for free. And So here we are, and we turned the house we were renting by the room into a long-term rental, and then now we're selling it. And that has changed, that has raised my wife's financial thermostat. And so we now look at the world differently, where if we're looking at a car or another house or anything, we ask ourselves not if we can afford it, but how we can afford it. And so when we look at nice houses, say we want to live there, we tell ourselves cash flow has to pay for that, not our salaries. So that is how we ended up living on our own without roommates after 3.5 years, is when you get to work and you start investing in real estate, it's just one step at a time, these little victories. And next thing you know, you turn around and you say, wow, I've got many of hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equity in properties. I've got cash flow coming in that covers my cost of living. And that gave me a lot of leverage in the world. That gave me leverage to renegotiate my salary with my boss. That gave me leverage to ask for longer vacations. And because I wasn't living paycheck to paycheck, I wasn't in a lot of debt other than real estate debt that creates cash flow for me. And it got to the point where I was like, why am I even working anymore? Like, there came a point where I was looking at my boss and my boss's boss, and one of them was making $250,000 a year, over $250,000 a year, and he was living paycheck to paycheck, and he was in his late 50s at that time. And I looked at that and I saw the work that he had to do and what his life was involved in, and he bought a condo and a vacation place, and he had never been to it in 4 years. And I said, that's not what I want to be. And so I learned the secret to that is getting your freedom back early. For us, was controlling our cost of living, was having our cars paid off, was not getting into any debt that did not create cash flow for us. And that's making sure we live well below our means. It was very liberating to the point where my boss and my coworkers slowly started to learn what I was doing. And I don't recommend people telling their coworkers that they're doing real estate. Everyone had told me this. Don't tell your coworkers you're doing real estate. Keep it a secret. Keep it a secret. And I was wondering why. Like, I care about these people. We had a really good culture, between our groups of our people. Why wouldn't I want them to take care of their family better? And afterwards I learned it's because corporate America has a grip on you, has control of you. And that control is debt service. Is you going to work every month to service debt. The debt on your cars, the debt on your home, the debt on your credit cards, student loans, the debt on the vacation you might have financed or a boat. And when you communicate or when you start freeing yourself with debt, you're seen as a threat to the order that is there, that corporate America has over you. And so as I became more financially independent, I could get things like raises because Michael doesn't have to be here, and we know he doesn't have to be here. And then I could get approvals for longer vacation time because we know Michael can leave anytime he wants. And then it turned into, well, we really need to get rid of Michael. It's bad for everybody else that people sees Michael getting all these things.
You get what you want, yeah.
Yes. And so I recommend everyone, don't do what I did, okay? Don't let the cat out of the bag. Keep it to yourself when you're doing real estate. Realize that you're going to be surrounded by people who are going to show you what they believe is the way of life. And their way of life is to ride a desk until you retire. And I didn't want that. I wanted to retire when I was young and see the world. And real estate brought me that opportunity.
That's amazing. So how long did it take you to quit your job?
From the first time I bought the house hack and to quitting my job, about 5 years. For 3 or 3.5 of those years, I was just doing the house hack. I wasn't really super focused on real estate. I was still focused on my career, but when I really put my foot on the gas, it was about 2 years. Yeah, when I started buying single-family off-market stuff, it was about 2 years. But if you want to measure it from the time I bought my house hack, it was about 5.5.
But you have a lot of discipline. You are very, very disciplined. Have you ever... Was there a day where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore? Or do you ever feel like this is too hard?
I appreciate that you think that I have discipline because I think I'm rather undisciplined. And I think by living our lives the way we have, we've given ourselves margin to not be disciplined. That if you don't have high fixed costs, you can spend whatever you want on a single month. You can go spoil your family. You can go on a trip and then it doesn't harm you. If you have high fixed costs, and you are not disciplined with your budget, it goes on a credit card or it comes out of savings or it comes out of retirement, and it really does harm you. So I I appreciate that you think I'm disciplined, because I don't feel disciplined at all. I don't feel as disciplined as I am with my sleep, with my diet, with my investing, with my business, and I feel like I need to get better at that. But part of what kept me motivated, even at times when it was difficult, was I think I have this benefit that I just never believed anything was real. Every time I had a job or a paycheck, I felt like everything was temporary. And I think I partially got that from my dad being in the swimming pool business, because he could make a lot of money during the summer and then no money during the winter. And then one of my first jobs that I had was in oil and gas, where it was feast or
Hey, isn't
famine.
real estate the same thing? I
Yes,
mean,
it
you
is.
make a lot of money one month and you make no money the next month.
That's right, feast or famine. And then I worked in oil and gas, and it was feast or famine as well. It was we built land-based oil rigs, drilling rigs, and you knew when the contract was coming up, when the project was being complete, and we would get laid off for 3 or 4 or 6 months and then get called back whenever they got another contract. And so I see it as a blessing, but I just never believed that a paycheck would always be there for me. And I was surrounded by people that had fancy degrees from high-powered universities, and they lived in a world where they went from no money, because they were a college kid, to probably making a lot of money. And it's been consistent for them. And so because of that, they believe that they can always work. And I am very certain, and I tried to impart this onto people that I care about, that you are not always guaranteed a job, that there are market downturns, there are office politics, there are mergers and acquisitions that happen, and there is a time where you will be without a job. And so I ask people, how much financial runway do you have? At your current lifestyle, how many months can you live without working? And for me, I always assumed that was coming right around the corner. Even though in my last job I worked for like 7 or 8 years with no interruption to my salary, I still lived my life like it could happen any day. And that's also what motivated me to invest in real estate.
Well, that's really awesome. I think you touched on so many key points today. You just full of surprises.
Thank you.
See, I ask many guests this question. What would today Michael advise 18-year-old Michael? But I feel like you have been just really disciplined so far. I'm not sure if I don't know. What advice do you have for your 18-year-old Michael?
I feel like I'm talking to 18-year-old Michael every time I talk to young people at real estate meetups. But I would tell them, everything you think you need, you don't need. Everything you think you want won't make you happy and won't solve your problems. Everything that you truly want is on the other side of a cash flowing asset, and save and invest your money. I mean, that's and learn something entrepreneurial, some kind of sales, some kind of marketing, and learn ways to work together on teams, and learn things that, quite frankly, none of this is taught in schools. So start learning from sources other than what they teach you in college or the public school system.
I want to touch on something real quick. I think that we want the people who are listening or watching to know how easy it is if they really wanted to give it a try. Like for you, someone who came from a non-real estate background, you didn't come from a sale background, right? You come from, I would say, more of an analysis type position, and you got into real estate. You figure out how to market for deal. You figure out how to make the deal happen. You know, what was the biggest challenge for you when you first went from, corporate job to real estate?
So one of my biggest challenges when I started doing direct to seller marketing when I got into real estate was, initially I thought it was all a numbers game, like something is worth $10 and that's what I can pay for it. And I was just looking for people that understood it was worth $10. But what it took me a while to understand is that really to when you're doing direct to seller marketing and you're talking to sellers and homeowners that have a distressed piece of real estate, is there's always something else other than price. There's always something else other than price. Have you found that to be true, V?
I think it was never about the money. There was something else. Yeah, it was never about the money. You know, they may say that it's the money, but it was never about the money. There's always a hidden motivation that they may tell us and they may not. But it was never about the money.
Yeah. So it took me a while for me to learn that as well, is that I had a deal where the numbers made sense and everyone was in agreement with the numbers, but I couldn't get the contract signed. I couldn't get the deal to closing. And I come to learn that there was a son-in-law who was upset that the seller, who was the mother, was dealing with me directly and not involving him. And he kept getting brought up in conversations and added to text messages. And he met me at the property one day and just started yelling at me whenever I'd been talking for 2 months about buying this house. And the legal owner was the mother, and the mother wanted to sell it. No one lived in it. It was vacant for almost a year. Couldn't understand what was going on until this guy shows up out there and started yelling at me and pulled up on his phone, "This isn't going to work. We need to change this date. We need to change the closing. You're not getting 30 days to close." And it just dawned on me that I have to satisfy this guy. And I just asked him in my nicest tone, "Can I please have 30 days to close this deal?" And he's like, "Well, all right, I'll allow you to have 30 days. No other terms were changed. He just needed to feel like he brought a victory to the family, and that he needed to show that he protected his mother. I later found out after the deal closed, the mother apologized to me and said that he was in charge of some other properties she had in the past and it did not go well. And so he needed to be vindicated, or he needed some kind of redemption that he helped the family through, because in the past he had harmed the family, I come to learn.
Yeah, things always come out at some point.
Yeah. And so every deal that I've done, I like what you said, B. You said it was never about the money. There's another problem, and you have to find a way to solve it. And they're never going to tell you what that problem is, because sometimes they're ashamed, sometimes they're embarrassed, and sometimes they don't even know what it is. They're just not feeling it. And so sometimes it's helping people move and get moving trucks and storage units. Other times it is getting them the money faster. Sometimes it's taking care of debts for them, or allowing them to leave stuff that they don't want on the property, and then you clean it out for them. But it's always finding that hidden reason why they want a cash deal and why they're willing to sell quickly for cash. And they're not going to tell you that reason. You have to find it. You have to be a detective. And corporate America did not prepare me for that.
No. And you were smart enough to figure that out on your own. Here's my last question of the day. You had given so many nuggets today. I'm sure that the audience will want to reach out to you. So how do they get in touch with you?
If you go to my Instagram, it's at Michael B. Someone. There's a link on there where you can get on my calendar and chat with me, or you can just DM me or send me voice memos. I love to answer questions for people. I probably have 20 people in there now I've been talking to for months and just giving them free tips and advice. So if you want to chat with me, I'm not a coach and I'm not a guru, and I would love to help you out on your deals or give you some pointers.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you get a lot of values out of this episode and that you get to retire early. If you already passed your retirement age, I hope you retire soon. By the way, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can stay updated with more amazing story and insight from our real estate ballers. Thanks again for joining, and we'll see you in the next episode.